So within the special counsel's new superseding indictment is this additional charge for the ex-president's willful retention of national defense information at Mar-a-Lago. But it's also confirmation about his latest tale that he has been spinning and that he was, in fact, waving around sensitive war plans concerning Iran at his Bedminster Golf Club back in July of 2021. And it was captured in this audio. Listen.
Well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look, these are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
figure out
yeah.
See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
So the superseding indictment confirms that this new count 32, is in fact, quote, the document that Trump possessed and showed on July 21st, 2021, and specifically files it under, quote, presentation concerning military activity in a foreign country. Let's bring in former CI director, now an MSNBC senior national security analyst, John Brennan. Director Brennan, it's great to see you again. So, I want to just continue with this indictment for a moment because they elaborate on something very important here, which is that between January 2021 and August of 2022, the Mar-a-Lago Club hosted more than 150 social events that included weddings, movie premieres, fundraisers, all of them drawing tens of thousands of guests. What is your reaction to this confirmed recklessness with our national security and now some possible accountability?
Well, it confirms that Donald Trump divulged to unauthorized individuals some of the most sensitive information within the U.S. government, which is military plans in the event of some type of engagement overseas. And we had that one incident in Bedminster, New Jersey. But given the amount of individuals that passed through Mar-a-Lago and the number of individuals that he dealt with, you have to wonder who else he might have talked to, including foreigners who had visited him. And so it really does just underscore the recklessness, as you point out, of Donald Trump. And what really is amazing is that recklessness, the U.S. military relies on the element of surprise in order to be effective in terms of its military operations, but also it relies on that element of surprise to keep its personnel safe. But by divulging this information, he has put the lives of U.S. military personnel at risk. And it's so puzzling why so many individuals within Trump's MAGA base who have children or spouses or siblings in the U.S. military would be dismissive of his recklessness, which puts their loved ones at risk. And that's why I think it's critically important that this indictment proceed, focusing on his recklessness in terms of divulging this information that is so critical to our national security and to the safety and welfare of U.S. military personnel.
How do you begin, certainly from the position that you've had, how do you begin to even assess the damage? I mean, we know from the audio and the indictment that, this document, we can confirm it traveled at some point between Florida and Bedminster. We don't know who transported that document. We don't know who's seen that document. We don't know if somebody copied that document. And as former counterintelligence agent Peter Strzok said, during these 150 social events at Mar-a-Lago, there's plenty of photo evidence that the doors to the basement storage area were frequently open and unattended during those events. So how do you begin, as a former national security official, begin to assess the damage that this document had been floating around for months without anyone knowing where it was?
It's an exceptionally difficult task and probably an impossible one because there are so many documents involved dealing with so many sensitive programs that rely on so many sensitive technical collection systems and human sources abroad. And if that information has been exposed and has been compromised, we don't really know the extent of the damage because there's no way to determine exactly who might have accessed that information or what information Donald Trump might have shared with others. So I know my former colleagues are doing their level best based on those documents, taking a look at what sources and methods were relied upon, and to see whether or not there's any other indications that they, in fact, have been compromised. They might have to suspend some of those activities, put some of those sources and technical collection systems basically on ice. But it really is quite a dilemma for the intelligence community to be able to try to understand the scope, the extent, and the gravity of the damage that has been done.
How do you envision this ending, this saga of this national security lapse, if you will, because of Donald Trump? I mean, Jack Smith waited to add this charge, even though he's had this Iran document. We've known about it. And, you know, this could significantly add to Trump's criminal exposure. But how do you envision this particular situation ending?
What I find most horrifying is Donald Trump is the leading Republican candidate for president. And it is clear that anybody who did this could not have achieved any type of security clearance. But he has the potential to be back in the White House in the Oval Office with access to the most sensitive secrets and the most sensitive national security information that our country has. And so I know that our intelligence community, law enforcement community, and others are doing their best to try to understand, again, the extent of the damage that has been done. But what I worry about is that somebody as reckless, as careless, as irresponsible as Donald Trump continues to lead the Republican pack in terms of the presidential election. That, to me, is what is most concerning, most worrisome about our country's national security in the future.
Harry, how does Jack Smith prosecute a case of this magnitude with very sensitive classified information? Does the content of that document even matter to the jurors, to the courtroom, or is it about the fact that he just had it and was reckless with it?
So the charge is simply that he had it. Under the indictment, it's defined in a certain way, and it's not based on the content. However, this is, remember I was talking about bits and pieces and the one big chunk, the defense will have a right to say, we really need this part of it to give context to the jury, maybe even some other information as well. And there have been cases in the past when the DOJ has actually folded its hand rather than go forward. It's a technique that people will do in classified documents. So that's on Judge.
They're going to say, hey, this is not a big document. It's not. They want this out in the public so they can kind of basically tell everyone it's not as sensitive as the prosecution.
Well, this one in particular, I mean, were it not for what the Director Brennan is saying, it would be almost comical, right? It so shows that Trump, you know, wakes up lying and lies all day. Remember, he's pretending he has it. Then it's in the indictment, and then he said, oh, no, I didn't have it. Now it turns out that he really did. And the content is very sensitive, but the charge doesn't depend on the content, and that's why there are 32 there. So this one I think was added because it's got such probative value because of the lies he tells to Brett Byron in the public sphere. But basically, Jack Smith has it figured out that I can lose some of these documents, I can lose some arguments to the judge, and I'll still have enough to really go after him because, again, it's not the content that matters, it's the fact of its classification.
Director Brennan, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.